Hello everyone, welcome back to the session on your third part of your fifth unit, that is nothing but your file system implementation. And so in the previous session, we discussed about the introduction part of your file system implementation, right? So introduction part we have discussed. And within this introduction, we discussed about something called as virtual file systems. Then we also discussed about something called as file system structure, how exactly the structure looks like. And we have seen how these can be implemented, in our operating system. So in day-to-day life, we people are using file systems, right? File systems have plays a very important role in our storage device. Like whatever the information we want to store, we can store it using this particular file system. So basically, based upon the operating system, whatever we are using, the file system might vary. And we have seen that many different type of file systems that do exist here. Like if you talk about Unix, it is using UFS file system, and if you talk about Windows here, the one which we use mostly here, so in this we have NTFS, which is the latest one. Apart from that, we also have FAT31, 32, etc. used with respect to your Windows operating system. These are the file systems. But the latest one what we are using right now is NTFS. Okay. And whereas coming to Unix, we have seen something called as UFS. That is nothing but your Unix file system. Now, apart from this, we have other things related to it. We also seen that how the structure is represented and why we have went only for magnetic disk. Why we mainly focus on magnetic disk for storing purpose. Why not magnetic tapes that we have seen? Also, we have also discussed about SSD, right? Solid state disk. So here this is very high. The cost is very high. The cost is very high for this particular solid state disk, and whereas coming to the memory provided to it is very less. Whatever the memory allocated to it is very less. Less memory has been provided. Like for example, 500 GB, it will be coming you for something like 14,000 or something like that. You will be getting if you go to some websites and search for that, then you will come across this. But whereas coming to the magnetic disk, I told you that even 1 TB people can easily get it for some 7,000 to 8,000 amount of rupees. That's the best part of this particular. So mostly, but nowadays since the advancement due to the advancement in the technology, they are actually replacing this magnetic disk. They are replacing this magnetic disk with SSD. Okay, the reason why they are okay, you may get a doubt that sir, we are having less memory, 500 GB. Then what about actually nowadays you might have seen that whenever you people buy any kind of devices, they are providing you some 1 TB of external space, like they're providing you cloud space, right? Cloud, like if you people are going for Azure and all, Azure is it by URE, they are providing 1 TB of your cloud space and you can store the information there. That's the reason they have reduced the size of this particular magnetic disk to SSD. Okay, and based on that, so in today's session, well, previous session what we discussed, this is the one what we have discussed here, something like file system structures, in file system implementation, directory implementation that we have seen it. And today's session will be mainly focusing on this allocation method. This is very much important, this allocation method. So we are going to totally dedicate this particular session to this particular method. Okay, so basically we have some three different type of allocation methods here. And based on that, we are going to perform something like we have contiguous allocation method. And then we have the most important, the linked allocation method. And then finally, we have something called as indexed allocation method. Well, these particular methods came in a sequential format. So whatever the drawbacks we have in continuous allocation that are overcome by this particular linked allocation, and whatever the drawbacks this linked allocation cannot solve, that drawbacks are overcome by this particular indexed allocation. Means this particular allocation method is much more efficient when compared to your linked allocation and continuous allocation. But basically, basically here index allocation is somewhat complicated also when compared to your continuous. This is the simplest one what we have. We will discuss in the coming slide. This is the simplest allocation method what we are exactly having here. And coming to linked allocation, this is much more better. But index allocation is little complicated. But this is the one which is mostly used in many of the operating systems. Okay, as I told you that you please remember there is difference. Like file access methods is different. file access methods. We have file access method in this unit, and same way we have file allocation methods. Okay. Now, if you talk about file access methods, remember this is how we can access the files which are present in our operating system. How we can access it, that he is going to explain. So we have two methods here, sequential as well as direct. Okay. Don't get confused. Usually students get confused related to these questions. If they ask an exam, explain about file access method, these people usually write it file allocation method. File allocation method in the sense, whatever the file we are creating, how we can store in our external hardware. External hardware, that is nothing but your magnetic disk. How we can store this particular file in our hardware, that is what comes under file allocation. Means we are providing a hardware allocation. We are allocating hardware here. But access method means whatever the information is stored in this hardware, how we can access it. That is comes under these two, that is sequential and direct. But whereas coming to file allocation method, it is purely based on hardware. How within the hardware you people can share the hardware, whatever the space is present in this particular hardware, maybe 1 TB or 500 GB, whatever it might be. So that space, how it is allocated to this particular file in such a way that the maximum utilization of the space related to this hardware can take place. That is what we are going to discuss in this particular file allocation method. And after in the next session, we'll discuss about something called as free space management. That's also very easiest and the topic what we do have. Now let's talk about first directly implementation here. So basically, if you can see here, the way how the directory is actually accessed and how that algorithms are generated in order to maintain that particular directory, maintain that particular directory based on that. Okay, the performance of the system, the reliability of the system, and the efficiency of that particular system will vary. Like what it means to say here is, see, we know that directory structures, we have different type of directory structures that we have already discussed. Something like single level, two level. Then we discussed about multi-level. Multi-level is nothing but tree structure. And then we discussed about acyclic graph structure, and then finally general graph structure. So these are the ones what we have discussed. Now definitely in order to represent this particular directory either in any one of these particular forms, we definitely require programs. Using program, because it is a software. Program is nothing but a software. Based on that software only we can represent that particular kind of a structure. Now based upon the software is nothing but a set of program, means set of instructions whatever we are writing. Now based upon that particular program, these factors will affect the file system. What is that? The efficiency of that particular file system, the performance of how that particular file system is working on, that will be affected. Same with the reliability of the particular file system will also be affected. And that's what we have discussed in the previous session related to that linked list, linear list, and hash tables. Why I'm representing this here is because last time I did not cover much about hash tables. I don't know how many if I get a clarity. Just a revision part we are doing for hash tables. Linear you might have understood. So in a linear fashion, these are the very simple programs. Linearly we are going to create the files, whatever the files we want to create in a linear fashion we are going to create, and whenever the information is required we can access that information. But what he's saying is it is time consuming whenever we perform that search operation. So whenever search operation is performed, it's a time consuming because we need to start from the first file. Okay. So other thing what they are saying is, okay, using some kind of structures like B plus trees, we can arrange these particular files in a alphabetical order, or you can arrange them in a ascending order. But again, the problem arises here. The problem here is that since whatever a new file will come, suppose these are the set of files we have created, will be placing here. As I told you in the previous session, suppose we are arranging them in alphabetical order, and this file, whatever created is comes under the alphabet called A. Then this has to be reshuffled and has to be brought here, this particular location, A, B, C, like that. So in that way, what happens, the number of times if people are creating that particular file, you people have to provide, you people have to do the reshuffling part. Means the operating system has to do that reshuffling part, and that is a bit overhead. It's the overhead for the operating system. That's the main problem with respect to this particular thing. For that to overcome, we have used the hash table here. So coming to the hash table, what is saying, we'll be maintaining a table. This one I just it up. So within not be directly placing particular files here. Rather, what we are doing based upon the name of the file, whatever the file name you're having, based on that, that name file will be given to a hash function. We'll be having something called hash function. To that, we'll give this name of the file. And this particular hash function will generate a number. And that number will be used as the index to store that particular file. That's what he's going to say in this particular scenario. And what is the limit? But even though this is much more better than linear list, still it has a disadvantage. What is the disadvantage is the hash function is limited. For example, as I told you, we can add how many entries here? 64 entries. Now let us suppose I want to enter the 65th entry. Can I do it? Yes, it's not possible because I have a table of size 64. So definitely first I need to extend that table. So from 0 to 64 I can store. So whenever I want to store the 65th element, then I need to increase the table from 0 to, let us suppose, 127. I have increased the size. But whatever the function I am using to generate the number, it can generate from 0 to 65. I mean 64 only. Okay, so definitely we need to change. What we need to change? We need to change the hash function. Yes, we have to change this hash function where it can generate numbers from 0 to 127. And even if this table again you are incrementing, I mean you are extending it, definitely again the hash function has to change. And this is not so easy to change a particular hash function. That's what he's saying in this particular thing. But these are much more better methods what we have. So today's session, we are going to discuss about allocation method. So basically, what do you mean by allocation? So remember, this one I want to focus on. What he's saying exactly is allocation method is nothing but how the disk blocks are allocated for a file. So what do you mean by disk blocks is nothing but we already discussed from the third unit related to your backing store, right? This is your backing store. So that backing store is nothing but he means to say the magnetic disk. Okay, and within that magnetic disk, we already discussed that it is something flat type, and within that we have tracks, and within the tracks we have sectors, right? Like this we have sectors here, isn't it? We already discussed. And whichever is coming under a single row, all this we call it as a cylinder. So here, that he is going to represent here, that magnetic disk, whatever we have, that sectors are what he is calling it as blocks here. That sectors, whatever we are representing, that will be represented in a format of a block here in this particular location. And whenever the file is coming up, we will be trying to fill these particular free blocks which are available within this particular system. Whatever the free blocks are available here, we'll simply fill it. Let us suppose we got a file called Jeep. Okay, and some content is there. We'll start filling it up. So first we'll fill this particular block. So when this particular block is filled, still information is present in this particular file, then we'll go to the next one. So continuation. So we'll place it here. Even though still existing, then we'll add here. Finally done. That particular file we have filled it. Next another file came something called as XYZ. We need to fill it up. So system will try to determine any randomly from somewhere and it will try to fill that particular slot. So these three, so it will be having numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that. So it will be filling the information here in this way. And whenever you want access data, it will try to read them in a sequential order and try to get the information. That is one type of method. I have just explained it. I'll explain in the coming slides. So basically just understand these are the empty blocks what we have in the backing store, and this is what we call it as disk block, magnetic disk. So disk block. All these are empty disk blocks. How these disk blocks are allocated to the file? Whenever a new file is coming, new file is generated, how we are allocating this particular blocks to it? So that is what we are going to discuss. Basically, we have three different methods here. So three methods we are going to use in this particular scenario. So what are the three methods we have is, I have told you beginning itself, contiguous, then we have link, and then we have index. So let's see them one by one so that you can get a clear idea about it. So let me erase it up first. Yeah. So the first one is continuous allocation method. Followed with that we have a linked allocation method, and then we have an index allocation method. So what do you mean the continuous allocation method is nothing but in this, whatever the file is created, whenever a new file is created, that file we will be allocating within this particular disk backing store the disk blocks will be allocated in a sequential order, sequentially and continuously. Suppose initially all these blocks are empty, let us suppose, and starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So whenever this new file came, suppose G is the new file which I came, so it has some content now. So I will be allocating 0, 0th block, and followed with that first block, second, how much it requires, that much till how much the content is present, that many blocks I will allocate, and that will be loaded into this particular disk. This is what we call it as continuous allocation. So basically it will have a directory structure. This will have a directory structure which will have the name of the file. So what is the name we have? Jeep. So apart from that, it has two pointers. It will be having a pointer here. This pointer will refer to the block. This block, whatever you're seeing. So it will have initial block it will have, followed with that it will have the length. Okay, sorry, I'm not able to write properly. So it will have, see that I, sorry. Mm, yeah, the directory structure. So the directory structure will have the name, the initial location, that is maybe from 0, and followed with that it will have a length. Length in the sense nothing but, let us suppose that particular file requires 5 blocks. So from 0 to 4, that blocks will be occupied. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So initially we are placing in, initially we start with zeros, right? So this one will be filled till how much? What is the length he has given? 5. So 0 to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See? So this particular block will consist of file called as G. Okay, this particular file, whatever we have zip here, that will be allocated to this particular location. That is what is saying in this particular scenario. I hope it's very clear till here. So let me clear it and show you this diagrammatic part so that it becomes. So it is one of the simplest one, as I told you. The best part of this particular continuous allocation method is, see here. This is the diagram. What you can see here. This is what I'm talking about from the beginning. This is what we call it as a backing store. Okay, now this particular backing store, whatever you're seeing here. Now, if you see here, directory structure, I told that we will be having a directory structure. This is the directory structure we have. So in this directory structure, we have three fields: file, start, length. File represents the name of the file, whatever we are creating. Followed with that, from initial, it will consist of the initial information, the initial block from where it is starting. Followed with that, it will have the length, means how many blocks it is going to occupy. So initially, like for example, the count file is started at 0th location, 0th block. What is the length? 2. So 0, 1. So 2 blocks are allocated to it. So that is what represented. You can see here 0 and 1. So continuously we are going to give. Next one is TR. TR is another file name. Some file name we are giving randomly. You can assume as some other more like movies, like videos, or like something like audio, that kind of file. No, it is starting from which location? 14. Where it is 14 here. And what is the length here? 3. Means it is going to occupy 3 blocks. So 14, 15, 16. So this portion of your secondary storage device is allocated to a file called as TR. And after that we have something called as mail here. So mail starting at location 19, that is here. And what is the how much size it having? It requires around 6 blocks here. So from here till you can see here till 24, it is going to occupy. So this is nothing but your mail. You can see here. So this particular file is stored in this particular location. Finally, if you see F starting at location 6, it is random. It is not, files, whenever we are allocating a memory to the file, it will be in a sequential order. But it is not necessary that all the files will be represented in a sequential order. Like count is there, after the TR is coming. It's not necessary it should start from 2. It can be, that will be decided by the operating system, whichever location it wants to give. It can start from any location. But when you are allocating a memory to that particular file, that will be given in the sequential order. That is what is saying in this particular list file system. Okay, file. So if you see this particular file F, it starts from 6. Here it is. Its length is 2. So 6 and 7 is allocated to that particular file called as F. So this is the way how it exactly works. Okay, that's the best part of this. Okay, let me hold on. Yeah. So I hope it is very clear till here. This is what we call it as continuous allocation. Now in this, what is saying, I want to spend some time here. We can apply, since we discussed about file access methods, right? We have file access methods, if you remember. And we said that we have, what are the file access methods we have? One is sequential. Another one, what we discussed is direct access method. Now here what is saying that for this particular allocation method, that is the continuous allocation method, this one, we can apply both these access methods. Sequential and direct method can be applied directly to this particular continuous allocation method. How? Let me explain it. If we talk about sequential, we know the initial position from where that particular file is getting allocated. And can we read from that particular location? So after 0, definitely we know it will be 1. Something like, you're starting from a block B. What will be the next block? B plus 1. What will be the next block? B plus 2, so on, until whatever the length is given. So same way, so this is what I think. So we can apply sequential access method. And same way, he is saying that we can also apply the direct access method to this particular allocation method. How? Since we know from initial location, we know the initial location of a file. Now, if I want to find the ith block, can I find it up? It's possible or not? For example, if I see there is a file called as, okay, let us take a bigger one. Okay, this is a file, mail. Okay, I know the initial location is 19. I want to locate the fourth position. I want to get the content from the fourth block. Is it possible for me to get the fourth block? What is the length here? 6. So I should not exceed 6 blocks. Okay, I want to get the content from the fourth block. Can I get it? Yes, it's possible. 19 plus 4 is how much? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it is 23. So I can directly go there and can try to access the information from this particular block. That is what he means to say. So both sequential and direct method we can implement on this continuous allocation method. Okay. Only thing is, if we know the initial position, then we can directly apply it. Sequential, initial position you know, then you can go plus 1, like 0 plus 1. So 1, 1 plus 1, 2, plus 1, 3 in that way. For example, this mail, we are starting at 19. I want to access from here. So 19 plus 1 is 20. So next block we need to access is 20. 20 plus 1 is 21. I am going to access information from this particular block. Then plus 1, 22 in that way. But I should make sure whatever the length is given, that should not be exceeded. That's the best part of this particular continuous allocation method. Now, apart from that, whatever we have discussed here, so I think it's very clear till here, no doubt. Now coming to this particular allocation method, it does have some problems too. So it is the simplest one what we have implemented, that's good. But still it does exist some kind of problems. What kind of problems it has is, the first one is, it has certain limitation. That is nothing but he is talking about problems here. The first problem is finding a space for a new file. Well, determining which particular means, for example, we are getting a file, some file, and the size of this particular file is some 20 blocks. It requires, that is nothing but your length in your directory. So that 20 means the system has to find out where it can get continuously that 20 blocks. Within the, where it can get like this or continuously 20 blocks, that there only it can provide the space to this particular file. So determining that space is actually really a very hectic task. It's not so easy. And moreover, this particular problem, whatever we are saying, this can be even considered in a format of a dynamic storage allocation problem. This problem can be considered even as a dynamic storage allocation problem. Okay, because dynamically you will be creating a file. So you people will be creating dynamically a file, and that file you need to store it. So you need to dynamically means at runtime you may have to find out the space from this particular location and you need to allocate to this particular file. So it's typically a difficult task. And anyhow for this we have seen a solution. I don't know how many of you remember in the third unit we discussed about best fit, first fit, and then we discussed about something called worst fit. If you don't remember it, please watch my previous video so that you can get a clarity. So these are from the third unit. And in this we already discussed, using this we can allocate it. And we discussed, and even we have discussed, we have compared this best, first and worst and found that these two are much more better when compared to worst fit in time, in terms of time and in terms of storage. Means finding a location, that is nothing but it takes some time. So time and storage point of view, best fit and first fit is much more better than worst fit. But if you talk only about storage utilization, if you talk only about storage utilization, which one will be effectively utilizing best fit of or first fit? Well, basically, none of them uses perfectly. Remember that none of them is going to use perfectly. Both are not. But first fit is much more faster when compared to the best fit. That is what is saying in this particular, but that is what we discussed in that particular session. Okay. Coming to the storage utilization point of view, neither of them is good, but first fit is much more faster when compared to your best fit. That is what he's saying in this particular scenario. Now here the problem that generally what comes in due to this particular thing is external fragmentation. External. This also we have discussed in the third unit. Okay, still I will just recall it so that you people can get an idea. Let us suppose this is what the disk we are having. Okay, and within this I am having this free block, disk block. I am having free disk blocks. Let us suppose I got a file, and this file is having a size of started at 0 initially, and okay, I just want to give a name of this file as xyz. 0, the length is 2. Let us suppose initially I have started and gave it here. After that another file came abc, and I will be allocating something like, initially 0, 1, okay, let me write the name 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now this particular ABC came and it is started around 3, okay, and the size is 4. So means 4 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is allocated. And after that another file came, something called as MNO, and that particular file I am starting at 8. Okay, I am allocating till 4. So the length is 4. This is the length, the initial location of a directory. So what happens from 1, 2, 3, 4, these are occupied. So how many free spaces we are available? 2 blocks. Now let us suppose we got one more file called as XYZA. Okay. Now I want to allocate it. This particular file requires only 2 blocks. Okay. Now if you see here, do we have a free space of 2 blocks? Yes. The block number 7 and the block number 2 is empty, but it is not in a continuous manner. Can you see this? Means even though you are having free space, still you cannot allocate the disk block. Why? What is the main reason? Because it's not contiguous or continuous, okay? Because it is not in a sequentially continuous manner. So it is located, one is located, the empty space is located at 2 and another is located at 7. That's the reason we cannot allocate. Even though we are having free space for this particular file, we require only 2 blocks. But we can't, we have a space, but it is not sequential. That's the reason we can't allocate it. That is what we call it as external fragmentation. And the solution for that, what we can provide here is compaction here. So what do you mean by compaction is nothing but, okay, let me draw the diagram and explain it. So whatever initially I have drawn it, so what he's saying is, first this one is occupied, then this particular location was occupied, and then this one was occupied, right? So what he meant by compaction here is that he is asking you people to copy whatever the files we have into another copy. Whatever the information you are having, you just copy into this particular another disk. Temporary, this is something like temporary disk. And after copying it, what happened? All this disk will be empty, right? This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, sure. So once these are empty, now whatever the information you have stored here, this particular information, you arrange them in sequential way, like something like here. The first file is here. Next file we started from this particular location, but now we will start from this particular location. So it means something. It will start 1, 2, 3, 4. And after that we have another file which regards 4, right? So that 4 we are going to store it in this particular location. So if you see here, okay, yeah, it's not working properly. Let me use my, yeah. So this is a file whatever we are having here. So what he's saying, he is asking you people to just copy it up. Whatever the information is present here, he's simply asking you to copy it to another temporary file. So whatever the information is there, you are going to copy it in a temporary location of this particular file, and after that you'll arrange it. So when we are arranging, we'll arrange it in a sequential manner. Means the first file will occupy this. The next file we started from this particular location, but now we'll start from the previous one. So it will occupy this particular location. And after the next file again we'll copy from here and this particular location. Now if you see here, the last two blocks are empty, and we got another file called XYZA, and the length of that particular block is 2. So we can allocate that 2 blocks here to this particular file. This is what he means to say called as compaction. Okay, this is the way how it exactly works. Okay, fine. That is related to that what we call the limitations what we do have. Now, apart from that, another other problems are also existing with respect to it. What is that is how much space, how much space, sorry. Another problem that what we do have here is how much space we need to allocate to a file when it is created. So whenever you're creating a new file, so how much space is required for that particular file, that also we need to determine. Well, that is very typical. We don't know how much space initially required by that particular file. So what he's saying, he is giving a solution for that is, he is giving two solutions for this. What is the solution is, first you terminate the program, whichever the program you are writing, suppose whatever the space is allocated to that particular file is not sufficient, you terminate that particular file, then allocate space to it, allocate space to it, and then start reusing that particular file. That is one solution he is giving. Or else what is saying, anyhow that file, whatever we allocated the space is not sufficient, then he is asking you to determine the largest hole what we have. The largest hole whatever we are having, that hole you determine, and within that particular hole you copy this content whatever existing, like previously I told you about temporary file, like that. He is asking you to determine the largest hole, copy the content into that particular hole, and release this particular memory. That is the second solution what is giving to this particular location. Well, these two are best solutions what are provided by this particular system, but these are time consuming and the cost is also very high in order to do that. That is the main thing. Okay, so that is what he is talking about in this particular thing. So to overcome this, what happened now? The system, they have come up with another modified version of your continuous allocation method, where they will be allocating chunks in a format of initially. Continuous chunks of a space will be allocated, and that chunk means in a format of clusters. Okay, that will be allocated to it. Like for example, initially when a file is coming, some two blocks we are allocating it. So we have 4 blocks, right? So these 2 blocks are allocated to the file. These 2 blocks we are not going to use it. We'll keep it as it is. Whenever a new file comes, we'll give it from the next track. And whenever this particular file is extended in the future, whatever the block we have left it, that block we can allocate to this particular location. So this particular empty block will be added to this. Again, if it requires one more block, so whatever the nearby neighbor block is there, that we are going to allocate. These are empty blocks. This is a strategy that has been followed in order to, that is with the new continuous allocation method. Okay, so how it is, let me explain it. Anyhow, we can see it. I'll show you in the previous diagram. It's okay, fine. It's I'll draw the diagram and I'll show you how what he means to say. Suppose earlier I have shown you that we have 4 blocks initially here, right? Here. So whenever one file comes, we will be allocating 2 blocks, means whatever the block he requires. Next time another file comes, we will not give this block. We will use some other blocks like here. So in the future, let us suppose we have here other blocks also. So in future, suppose this particular file requires one more block, any of the nearby is empty, we will add this chunk to the existing one. Same way, we will add another one if it requires to that particular existing one. So this way we can do it up. This is one of the strategy used in order to overcome that particular problem of allocating spaces. Means the size of a particular file, if it is increases in future, how we can allocate it. This is the way it exactly does. Now the problem what we faced in what we call continuous allocation method is size. How much size for a particular file we need to give? That is the problem we came across here. And same way, we need to see external fragmentation problem. We actually had external fragmentation problem. So these two problems are overcome by this particular what we call linked allocation method. So what do you mean by this linked allocation method is nothing but here the files are in a format of linked list of this block and they are scattered anyway. Means here we are not going to allocate memory in a sequential manner. Like for example, earlier we allocated for a particular file in a sequential manner, means this block and this block we allocated to file 1. But whereas coming to linked list, this is not the case. We will be allocating these particular blocks in a different manner. Like for example, the first block of this means first block we might be using 0 of this particular file. When this particular block is filled, we will not give block number 1. We may be giving block number 3 as a second block. Okay, then we might be leaving some other block like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe the sixth block might be given as a third block to this particular file. Means not sequentially. So with this, what happens? Your data will be scattered for a particular file. Your data will be scattered in different locations. So definitely you don't have to worry about external fragmentation because anywhere you can store the information. That's the best part. And what is the size of the, whatever the size? Well, we don't have any restriction for this. Why? Until you have empty free blocks here, you can keep on increasing the size of any particular file. So we don't have any kind of restriction. So this problem and external fragmentation problem is getting eliminated by this particular linked allocation. Okay. So this is the best part of this particular thing. And here we have a directory structure which will be storing information. So if you see here, there is a small change here. Let me show you. This is a file name. Earlier we had a initial starting location and a length. But whereas coming to this particular linked allocation, we don't have length, we have end. Means this particular directory structure will hold the initial position and the final position of that particular file. Then what about the intermediate? Suppose this particular Jeep for 4. Okay. So initial position we know is 9 and the last block number is 25. What about the in-between location? Means that will be represented or will be stored by the system itself. Yeah. So if you see here, so 9, first position. So we will store the data. After this particular block is filled, we need to get the next block. The operating system will decide which block is empty, means which block has to be selected, and that particular block is something called as 16. You can see here 16. Now, how the system remembers that what is the next block here is nothing but among this particular block 9, let us suppose this particular block is having a size of 512 kilobytes. Among them, 4 bytes are reserved. 4 bytes are reserved for a pointer. 4 bytes are reserved actually for a pointer. Okay, and within that 4 bytes, we will be having the next address, that is 16. And once 16 comes up, okay, you people will be storing the information. After this particular file is done, still it requires more block. The system will decide. So here 4 bytes, 1 block will be allocated for this. So this will contain 1. From here, the system will go to 1. Here it will add the data. From 1, it is going to 10. And here finally it is going. And the last block is 25. Here we are filling. Now since 25 is the last block where the data is getting filled up, so what about the pointer? This 4 bytes are representing to a pointer to the next block. So that's why we are calling it as linked. So what about that particular pointer? Means it is represented as null, right? So here null is represented with -1. Let me erase it so that you can see. Yeah, you can see here. It is represented with -1. -1 is nothing but that is an end of a file. This is something like linked list. So this portion will contain the data, and the small portion will contain, this is a point, this will contain a pointer to the next location. So again, we'll store the data, and this will point to the next location. That is what happening here. So if you see a 9, so this 9 will contain the data. This portion will contain 16. It will go to the 16. This is the block 16. So here will be the data, and it will again represent 1. So we'll go to the 1 block, and within that we have a data, and this represents 2. I mean, sorry, 10. So it will go there, and here again a data, and finally 25. So the 25th block we have data. We have completed filling that particular file. We're storing that particular file. Then we don't have any other more content to do. So simply we are representing -1. So null. So that is an end of your particular file. This is the way how your linked allocation actually works. It's very easy. You don't have to think much about it. You don't have to worry. But here, even though it is much more better than your allocation, but still it has certain disadvantages here. Okay, let me show you what are the disadvantages it actually has. Well, actually, it's not disadvantage. It is what we call limitation we have. So what is the first limitation we have is we can apply only the sequential access file. We can. So we know that file access methods we have sequential and direct. So what is saying we can apply only the sequential access method to this particular allocation method. Why we cannot allocate direct access method is because the directory will consist of information related to the starting location and ending location. What about the in-between files we don't have? So definitely you need to start from the starting location. You have to go through all the different locations, and then only you can get the particular block whichever you want to access it. That's really a very, very typical task. Okay, that's the reason we cannot apply directly. Suppose I want to get the ith block of a file. I can't get it. Why? Because I have a starting location. But what is the next location where the system is going to store the information within that block? I don't know. That is decided by the system. And I don't have any information related to it. Like for example, initially it was in ninth location. The next location was something 20. So I have information related to 9. But after that, do I have to add 1? Do I have to add 2? Do I have to add 3 or 12, 18? What? I don't have any information regarding that. So that's the reason we need to go from the beginning. Means 9. After that, it might be going to 17. From 17, it might be going to 20. So I need to search all this. So when you're searching all these blocks, what you're doing, you people are doing disk seek. You people might have gone through disk scheduling algorithm where we have calculated the cylinders. You know, I think you people remember like this, we have drawn something like this, I mean this, we have drawn a graph. Okay, disk scheduling algorithms. So here what happens, this algorithm, the number of cylinders will increase in this particular order when you are processing it. That is the main problem that we have, or the main limitation what we are having with respect to this particular linked allocation. Apart from that, the other limitation what we have is the space required by that particular pointer. For 512 bytes, let us suppose this is the block I have, 512 byte size. 4 bytes are used for the pointer. Okay, means how much space we can use it for storing the data? I mean, I think if I'm not wrong, 508 bytes we can use for storing the data, and the remaining 4 bytes. So in that way, if you keep on accessing that particular thing, what is saying is 0.78% of the disk will be used only for pointers rather than placing the information. That's a huge amount in order to waste the memory. Okay, that's what another limitation that we do have here. So, well, definitely we have a problem here. So limitation, we need to overcome that. So we do have a solution to that particular problem. That is what we have here, something called as clusters. This is most important for your linked allocation. So in clusters, what we people are going to do here? So in clusters, what we are going to do, whatever the space we are having here, now this free block, we will group them into format of a cluster. Like this is one cluster. This 4 is another cluster. So based upon the file, whatever we are getting here, we will be allocating this particular cluster. So let us suppose one file came, it requires 3 blocks, we can directly access this particular cluster. If it requires 4 blocks, we can allocate this particular cluster. Now that depends upon the system. In case in the future, this 3 cluster, initially this file requires 3 blocks. we allocated this. Future it requires one more block, that we may have to allocate another 3 clusters or 4 clusters, whichever we are having. But here I think you people might have understood what's the problem. This particular file requires only one block, but I am allocating an entire cluster here. So remaining 2 blocks what we have here is are simply wasted. These are empty. These are not used by that particular file at that particular instance. So what will happen? These will be simply wasted. We can give it to some other some other file now, so we are not doing it, simply wasting it up. So how we can overcome that means we can't come. That is what we call it as internal fragmentation. This is not external. Internal fragmentation means that particular file requires 4 blocks, but we have a cluster of 5 blocks. So one block will not be used. So this one block will be wasted because that particular file will be using only 4 blocks. The one block will be left empty and that will be wasted. That is the main drawback of this particular thing, cluster. What it means to say, it's not a drawback actually. What it means to say that external fragmentation we are trying to overcome, size of a file also we are trying to overcome, but this internal fragmentation definitely will exist and that is common. See, 100% we can never get without any fragmentation. Definitely they will be there. So that is what he's saying in this. Now there is another technique that is implemented for your linked allocation method, that is your FAT, file allocation table. Now how this particular thing works, let me explain with an example. The diagrammatic way. Here what is saying, the name itself is specifies file allocation table. Initially we will allocate one table within a block. That empty block only will allocate one table. That table will actually maintain every information. Like earlier how we used to do, the directory will have initial block number. Here some space we are allocating to the pointer. This will point to the next block. Again this will point to the next block. So rather than that, what this particular file allocation table is going to do, it will create a table. This is what we call directory entry. Here it will store the information related to the name of that particular file and the initial starting block number. Okay, and that block number will, where exactly it is located, will be applied here. And from here, this particular block will consist of information related to the next one. The next block, wherever it will not store any data. 618, from 618 it will go to here. So 618, from here he is representing a number called 339, and this 339 block will consist of information. The data, information or the data what is required. That information or the data is stored in this particular 339 block, not in this particular block. Initially all these are represented with empty block, zeros. But whenever some block we are allocating it, then definitely we will be replacing that with this number 339, 618 in that way, and then we can allocate. So this will try to overcome the problem of this particular pointers representation that we can overcome, and based on this we can try to allocate some space. We can try to remove the space that is more space what has been used by the pointers. We can just try to eliminate it. That is the best part of this particular file allocation, FAT, file allocation table. Okay, so this is the way it exactly works. Now the third one, what we do have here is, this tries to overcome the problem related to your something called as earlier we had discussed about something called linked. So that problem, that linked allocation, whatever we had discussed, it has a problem related to that pointers and all. That problem is getting overcome by this particular indexed allocation method. Well, how it is trying to eliminate it, let me explain it. Index allocation method, what exactly it is going to do, let me show the diagram. Here, rather than starting initially, will place the information. Rather than placing that information, what we'll do, this particular directory structure will contain the name of the file and the index block. Let us suppose the initial block is 19. So we'll go to 19. Now this particular block, we will not be using for storing the information. Information will not be stored here. Rather, this entire block I am allocating to the pointers. Allocating to the pointers, and these pointers will be representing the blocks where the data will be available. Like for example, this particular Jeep block, so we are actually initially giving the index block 19. So we'll go to this particular block 19. From here, this will contain, so it contains the initial pointer 19. So this is your first block where the information will be present. Where is 9 here? Here. So here the first information will be stored here. When this particular block is filled, then again the system will decide, means the system will, means we have here something called as free space management. And this is the one which actually selects the empty block and allocate to it. So then the system will know this particular free space management will decide where the empty space is located, and it is located 16. Now 16 will be filled here, and that value is allocated. Initially, all are represented with -1, means these are empty. Now, when we start writing the content to that particular file, definitely space will increase. So we will start allocating. So 9, 16, next 1, next 10, 25. What about remaining 3? These are not allocated. These are right now not allocated to anyone because the size of the file has ended at this particular location. So these 3 we can use it in the future. This is what we call it as indexed allocation. So the initial block, whatever we are going to allocate to a particular file, this particular file, that will be consist of index, means the location of the block where the information can be stored. And based on that, as I told you, whenever the file will be started writing up, as it will start writing, it will start finding a free block, update that pointer in this particular index block, and then it will start writing the content there. Once that particular block is filled, then it will come back here. It will try to find a new, the free space management will try to find another block, whichever the empty block is there, that pointer will be represented here, and then that particular pointer means that particular block will be filled, and this process continues. That's the best part of this particular index allocation method. Okay. Now, when we are performing this particular index allocation method, here, whatever I explained it, I think you might have understood how it is exactly working here. But here also we do have some problem. We try to overcome the problems of your external fragmentation and all, right? So that problems are totally eliminated. That's the best part of it. But still it has certain information, means some problems related to it. What is the problem it is having here is nothing but we need to provide the entire block. Like you might have seen in the previous one, we have given this one particular block as an index, and that consists of values. But what happens, the problem here, the limitation here is that, okay, first 3 pointers are filled. What about the remaining one? These are empty. But at that time, these are not being used. In the future, it might be used for that particular file. But we don't know when in the future it might be used. It may take a year's time, 1 year time, 2 years. It may be 3 days also, that depends. Okay. Or it may be 10 years also, depending upon the file, isn't it? So in that case, what happens? These pointers which are left unused are getting wasted. That is the small limitation what we have in this particular index allocation. To overcome that particular thing, we are coming across to 3 different type of mechanisms here. Linked scheme we can use, multi-level scheme, and then combined scheme. Using any one of the 3, we can try to overcome that particular problem. Okay, so what exactly? I hope that you people might have understood what I mean to say here. Let me explain. Let me show you the previous diagram so that you can get a clear idea about it. If you see here, this particular file G, whatever we are using here, it has used only these particular slots. What about these 3? These are empty. And I don't know in the future when I'm going to update this particular Jeep file. Maybe after 10 years I might be uploading it, but till 10 years, these 3 slots will be left empty. We are not going to use it. So here I'm just showing you 3. But if it is a very large file, you may be having multiples here, some hundreds of empty slots. So what we are doing, we are simply wasting the space. And we know that that is not a proper space management. So that is a drawback. That is a limitation we had. And that limitation is what we are trying to overcome using these 3 mechanisms: linked scheme, multi-level scheme, and combined scheme. Let me explain one by one. What do you mean by linked scheme here? So linked scheme is nothing but what we are going to do is index block will be used as a one disk block. Means whatever the block we are allocating now here. So we are allocating one block. This is the index block, right? This will consist of, this will be acting as one disk block. It can be read and written directly by itself. And whenever large files are there, we'll simply try to connect to it. Means what I mean to say exactly here is that here, this particular block, whatever you're using, rather than placing all the index files within this particular location, what I'm going to do is, this particular block will contain the name of this file and 100 pointers information. Among these 100 pointers, 0 to 99, right? So 0 to 99 will be used for representing the block where the data is stored. What about the last one, 99? Well, this will not be representing to another block. Maybe it is a very large file. So I need to extend it. Now this particular 99 will contain information about another index block. So this will represent again, 99 will represent another index block. This is another index block which will consist of information like name of the file and again 100. So if you see here, here also 100 we are providing. It's a very large file. So 100 we are providing here. Among these 100 pointers, 0 to 99 will be used for storing the data. The 99 location will point to another index block. And this index block again will contain the name of the file and again 100 pointers. Among this 100 again 0 to 98 will be representing the block for storing the information and the 99 will represent another. And this process will keep on increasing. So that is a method what we have. The next one what we have is multi-level. Multi-level is nothing but it's a variant of linked list here. So what we are going to do here is uh, we will use one of the blocks. Like initially we had 19, right? So 19th block, this is your 19th block. So what we are going to do exactly here is that it will use the level index to find the second level. Means here we will be storing the data, we will point to the next one and that will consist, means we are, sorry, we are not going to store any information here. We will be placing only the pointers. But this pointer will point to another index. See, in the linked one, what we did, we added some data here. One last one means some information file name followed with that pointers, and that pointers consists of information. And then the last one will point to next one. But here that is not the case. Here we will be using something like this is the block here, index block. This will consist of address of another block. Suppose this is 200, this is 100. So this will consist of 200. So it will come here. Consist of address of another block here. This is also index block only. It will consist of information about 300. This is 300. This will contain the data. Okay, this pure block will contain the data. But coming to these two blocks, these will not contain. This will be referring to the next one. This well, if you, I don't know how many of you remember it. Previously, we discussed about the table, page table, and within that we discussed about inverted page table. That table is what he is explaining here in this particular concept. Okay, so first one, this one is referring to the next index and this refers to the next index which will consist of the actual data. That is what he's saying in this particular scenario. Let me show you the diagram. You will get a clear picture. And if you want, if people can just watch my previous slides related to your page table so that you can get a clear idea about it. You can see here. So this is the file. Okay, so name G. So that will initially within the directory we have a number 19. Now this refers to out block and this will contain of 20, 200. This refers to 200 block and this will contain information like 20, 30, 40 and this 20, this is your 20, this is your 30, this is suppose we have this one here means 40. Now this will contain the data. This particular part contains this particular block, index block, whatever we are using, that represents another index block that is representing another block which actually consists of pointers, which actually consists of the actual data, whatever we want to represent or store it. Means this is something like a table within a table. We have one table. You try to go to that address. When you go to that particular address, it will have another address. Okay, and that address will contain the data. Okay, if it is a very large file, we can extend it. Like if this will contain an address, we are going to that address. This again block consists of address, we'll go there. If it is a large file, we'll go to another address. Again, this will consist of another data. This will consist of data, and this can be keep on increasing to level 4, 5, 6, so on. We can keep on increasing. We don't have any limitation for this. We can keep on increasing. That is what is saying over. But still, we have limitation. It's very complicated. To overcome this, we are using this combined scheme. This is a very interesting scheme. I'll explain with the help of a diagram. You can see the diagram. This is what I talked about your inode in your operating system. Unix operating system uses inode, I told you. What is this inode is nothing but your SCB. Like we have something called as PCB, right? Process control block. Same way, this is what we have here, file control block. Okay, and if you look at this particular block, what it's saying is this particular file control block will consist of information related to the files, and within this we have pointers. These are the pointers. Let us suppose we have 15 pointers here. Among these 15 pointers, the first 12 pointers represents to a direct block. What do you mean by direct block means? These 12 pointers will consist of point addresses where you can directly store the data. Like your index, like index initially we discussed the 19. Within that we had 6, 15 means this will consist of the data. 15th block will consist of a data. That is what it means to say direct block. Okay, out of 15, 12 pointers will be direct block. Remaining 3 pointers are indirect blocks. These are indirect blocks. And within that again we have variations. We have something called single indirect, double indirect, triple. What do you mean by that? Single indirect means this will consist of an address, something like 6. We'll go to that particular block 6. This will not contain data. It will contain the pointers which will represent the location where your data is present. That is single direct. Double means there will be double. So this will represent one. Suppose this is 6 and this is representing, this is a fresh one I am talking about, 6. This will consist of pointer. Single direct, from 6 you got a data, but here 6 will be consisting of pointer which will be again acting as an index. Maybe this is 7, this is 20. Now this will have pointers which will be consisting of the data. That means it is a double, two level. Two level he is talking about as double indirect. Same way if it is 3 level, we call it as a triple indirect. So this is the way how we can means within one particular file we can allocate. Now if a small file is coming, small file, very small in size, we can directly allocate direct block. If a large file is coming, simply allocate any one of these single, double or triple, whichever is convenient. So that's the best part of this particular combined scheme of your index allocation method. Now, depending upon this, the performance, so this is what the diagram, whatever I have represented, I have shown you below. You can see here direct block. You can see here 12, this is 13, 14, 15. 12 pointers representing direct block. Whatever the address is here, suppose 6. So this will 6 block will consist of data. Suppose 7 is there, 7 will consist of 20 is there, 20 will consist of data. Single indirect means it represents to one of the block. This is the block. And within that we have pointers that represents the actual data. That pointers will consist of data. Same way double means 2 levels. Triple means 3 levels like this. Again this will have 2 and this will contain the data. This is 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 levels. That's what we call it as triplet. And most probably with the triplet we can try to store as much as amount of data whatever we are having. Okay. Finally, performance. Performance, I think you people can guess it. I don't have to explain which one is much more better. You people know continuous will be much more better. But we are coming to your something called as what we call coming to the other something like as I told you, index allocation. It is much more complicated, but it is much more better when compared to continuous and this because it tries to overcome the problem. So based upon the performance point of view, allocation is much more better, and sequential direct we can apply for continuous. Whereas coming to what we call in linked allocation, we can apply only sequential. Direct we cannot allocate because we don't know the internal pointers where the data is exactly stored. And coming to the index, it is supports everything. Sequential index, everything it supports. So we don't have any problems related to your external fragmentation, but yes, internal fragmentation will do exist. So in the next section, we'll discuss about something called as free space management. Okay, so this is the slides related to it. Well, we'll stop here. Next section, we'll discuss that. So I hope it is very clear with this particular topic. And if you have any doubts with this, you people can directly ping me up. Okay, thank you. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.